Aliens asked for surrender. Humans sent a delivery receipt. The galaxy prided itself on efficiency. Civilizations spanning thousands of light years had created a unified communications grid, faster-than-light transmissions, precise encryption, flawless delivery. No message ever got lost, delayed, or misinterpreted. At least, that's what the aliens believed. Until they dialed Earth. The opening broadcast came from the Drazari Empire, a species that enjoyed issuing ultimatums with the same casual grace humans reserved for ordering pizza. Their ambassador, a lizard-like creature with scales the color of molten copper, appeared across the galactic channel, his voice dripping arrogance. "Humans of Sol," he hissed, "you are surrounded. Your fleets are insignificant, your weapons laughable. Lay down your arms and accept the mercy of surrender." The message ended with the Drazari emblem glowing like a burning star. Silence followed, the kind designed to crush morale. The humans didn't panic. They didn't scramble fleets. They didn't call emergency councils. Instead, the Drazari received something else in reply. A simple notification blinked back across the galactic network. "Message delivered, heavy check mark, heavy check mark." No surrender. No plea. Just the interstellar equivalent of a blue checkmark. On the bridge of the alien flagship Obsidian Fawn, the ambassador hissed in confusion. "Delivered?" he growled. "What does this mean? Perhaps it confirms receipt?" his aide suggested nervously. The ambassador slammed his claws on the console. "It is mockery! The humans toy with us!" And in a way, he was right. Far away, on Earth's orbital command station, Captain Elias Monroe leaned back in his chair, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. The man didn't look like a war hero. Neatly trimmed beard, pressed uniform, polite tone, he resembled the sort of man who would hold open doors and apologize when someone else bumped into him. But beneath the pleasant exterior was a tactician who had spent years studying how to weaponize perception itself. Monroe chuckled. "I told you, Admiral, half the battle is theater." Admiral Singh arched a brow. "So instead of responding with force, you've, what? Sent them a read receipt?" "Precisely." Monroe tapped the console, replaying the alien demand. "They expect fear. Panic. Some dramatic speech. Instead, they're left wondering if we're ignoring them, or laughing at them. Uncertainty is corrosive." Singh muttered. "You humans really are a strange species." Monroe's smile widened. "That's the idea." The news spread across alien channels like wildfire. Fleets, traders, and diplomats replayed the exchange, baffled. Some laughed at the human insolence. Others whispered nervously that no species dared insult the Drazari, and lived long after. Meanwhile, humanity did what it always did in moments of galactic crisis, made memes. Social feeds filled with jokes. "Aliens, surrender now! Humans, LOL, seen at 2:43 a.m. A Drazari warship photoshopped into a spam email labeled, "Congratulations! You may already be conquered." A t-shirt reading, "Your invasion request has been marked as read." It was absurd. It was petty. It was also utterly, devastatingly effective. Because while the galaxy laughed, the Drazari fumed. On the Obsidian Fawn, the ambassador gathered his council. "They insult us. They make light of our demand. This cannot stand." His tail lashed against the floor. "We must strike immediately." One of the elder strategists spoke up, his voice calm. "With respect, Ambassador, perhaps this is their tactic. Humans thrive on confusion. Every historical record shows they favor misdirection. Perhaps." "Silence!" the ambassador snapped. "They are primates. Soft-fleshed, short-lived, barely climbing from their cradle world. They cannot possibly stand against us." The strategist lowered his gaze but said nothing more. The seed of doubt, however, was planted. Back on Earth Station, Monroe watched incoming surveillance reports. Dozens of alien species were observing, each trying to guess humanity's next move. "Think they'll attack outright?" Singh asked. "Oh, almost certainly," Monroe replied. His tone was calm, almost cheerful, like a man discussing the weather. But the trick isn't winning the first blow. It's making sure the entire galaxy is watching when we do. Singh frowned. You're playing to the audience. Monroe nodded. Exactly. This isn't just about the Drazari. It's about every other predator out there deciding whether humans are prey or poison. The next Drazari broadcast came quicker than expected. Humans! You dare mock us? You have one final chance to surrender before we erase your planet from existence. Monroe leaned forward, hands folded, voice even. Play it back to them. The comms officer hesitated. Sir, play what back? Monroe's grin was sharp. The notification. Again. Seconds later, the Drazari screen flashed. Their ultimatum had been read. Nothing more. The alien ambassador nearly shredded his own console. Alien observers began to murmur among themselves. The Veari traders whispered, Do humans have secret weapons? The Crid warlords growled. Or are they simply mad? The wise Aerolith archivists recorded. This is deliberate. Watch carefully. Something is coming. And indeed, something was. That night, Monroe stood at the observation window overlooking Earth's blue curve. For a moment, he let the mask of polite humor fade. His reflection in the glass was cold, calculating. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries. Fragile bodies, limited lifespans, a single homeworld. Easy prey. But prey did not smile while laying traps. Monroe whispered, Keep watching, lizards. You've already walked into the net. Then he turned, smile returning as effortlessly as flipping a switch. All right, he said to the crew, voice warm again. Let's prepare the delivery. The alien council chamber pulsed with sterile light, its walls humming faintly with the weight of millennia of dominance. The assembled representatives of the Galactic Concord leaned forward in unison, their eyes, stalks, or sensory pits fixed on the holoscreen where the single human ship still sat, calm, motionless, infuriatingly casual. Why do they not respond properly? Hissed Counselor Vrol of the Zot, his mandibles clicking in agitation. We demanded surrender. They gave us a receipt. A receipt! His counterpart, Maelora of the crystalline Aethery, rippled with silvery disdain. Perhaps this is a cultural mistranslation. Perhaps delivery receipt is their way of acknowledging our ultimatum. Crude, but acceptable. No, interrupted Grand Strategist Creel of the Scorvith, his armored bulk looming over the dais. It was deliberate mockery. Predators mark their prey before they kill. Do not mistake this politeness for weakness. A silence fell. The Scorvith were not given to melodrama. If Creel sensed danger, it was not empty paranoia. The holoscreen flickered again. The lone human ship's comms crackled open. Good afternoon, came a smooth, almost cheerful voice. A human man, dressed in a dark uniform with a tie slightly loosened, appeared. His face wore that infuriating calm smile, the kind only a species too comfortable with chaos could produce. I apologize for the delay, he continued, voice steady. We were making coffee. Believe me, nothing happens in our fleet without coffee. Now, to the matter of your generous offer of surrender. We did receive it. Very official looking. Stamped and all. My compliments to your clerical department. Counselor Vrol nearly toppled from his perch. Clerical? The human lifted a thin datapad, tapped it, and a digital chime sounded. And, as you know, the Universal Courier System requires a delivery receipt. That's what we sent back. Standard procedure. Wouldn't want to leave you wondering if we lost the message, right? Communication is important. The E3 Maelora tilted her crystalline head, emitting a low harmonic tone that meant confusion. Are you accepting surrender or refusing? The man's smile widened by a fraction. Refusing. Politely. The chamber erupted into overlapping voices, screeches, and vibrations of outrage. This is insolence. They mock the Concord itself. Destroy the ship and be done with it. Only Creo remained still. His gaze never left the human. Identify yourself. The human dipped his head slightly, respectful. Commander Elias Rhodes, Earth Fleet Diplomatic Corps. Well, diplomatic in the broad sense. Depends how the day goes. He leaned forward, elbows resting casually on his console. And who might I be addressing? A committee? A tribunal? A book club? The insult was subtle, veiled in light humor. But every council member heard it. Creel's voice rumbled. You stand before the Council of Galactic Concord. Your people are outnumbered. Outgunned. We offer leniency only because we find value in labor races. Accept servitude and live. Refuse, and be erased. Elias's smile never faltered. He took a slow sip from a steaming mug, letting the silence hang, letting the council feel the weight of his unhurried calm. You know, he began conversationally, we once had a game back on Earth called poker. The trick wasn't the cards, it was convincing your opponent that you were holding more than you were. Sometimes you win not by strength, but by nerve. He set the mug down deliberately. The problem for you is, humans aren't bluffing. The council chamber chilled. Even Melora's crystalline tones dimmed to a muted hum. Creel's armored fingers tightened on the railing. Threats human? Oh no, Elias said smoothly. Not a threat. A receipt. For later. The council broke into frantic debate once more, some demanding the destruction of Earth immediately, others counseling caution. Elias simply watched, polite as a dinner guest listening to family squabble. His calmness unnerved them more than rage ever could. Finally, Melora spoke. This lone vessel cannot represent a credible threat. Commander, why appear before us with so little strength? Elias's eyes twinkled. Oh, I didn't come to impress you with firepower. I came to see how you handle paperwork. Confusion rippled through the chamber. Paperwork? Elias tapped his pad again. A file transferred across channels, appearing in every counselor's terminal. The title burned in bold. Notice of pending counterclaim. Terran Fleet Operations. What is this nonsense? Vroll spat. Legal paperwork, Elias said warmly. You declared us conquered, yes? Well, according to interstellar law, which we've read very carefully, occupation isn't valid until properly registered. We've already filed a counterclaim. Until it's processed, you can't technically invade. It was absurd. Laughable. And yet the Concord did have laws like this, relics of bureaucrats long dead. Elias had found the loophole. You're stalling, Melora said coldly. Obviously, Elias agreed. But isn't it fun? The Scorvus strategist leaned forward, his eyes narrowing to slits. Human. You delay because you are preparing something. What? Reinforcements? A trap? Elias gave a slow shrug. Now, if I told you that, it wouldn't be a surprise. And where's the fun in that? His voice hardened for just an instant, the smile never wavering. But I'll give you a hint. You know how predators in the wild wait until their prey is certain it's safe before striking? Humans learned that lesson very well. For the first time, the council chamber fell utterly silent. Vroll clicked his mandibles nervously. Empty bravado. Their kind are primitive. They cannot possibly. Creel cut him off. Quiet. His armored head tilted toward Elias, reading the micro-expressions, the steady breathing, the ease of a man who knew exactly what cards were hidden on the table. You believe you are hunters, Creel said slowly. But you speak as if we are the prey. Elias's smile sharpened. I don't believe it. I know it. He drained the last of his coffee and set the mug down with a hollow click that echoed across the chamber. And the funny part? We haven't even started the game yet. The holoscreen blinked off. For long seconds, no one in the chamber moved. The Concord had dealt with countless rebellions, countless defiant species. None had unnerved them like this single human with his polite smile and ridiculous coffee mug. Finally, Creel spoke, his voice low. Begin fleet mobilization. Something stirs behind that man's eyes. Something ancient. No one argued. The transmission chamber was dead silent, save for the faint hiss of static bleeding through the speakers. Rows of alien officers leaned forward, antennae twitching, frills stiff with unease. They had spent hours filtering noise, convinced the signal was nothing more than corrupted background radiation. But then, words emerged. Not alien. Not machine. Human. This is Earth Command. Identify yourself. The voice was crisp, calm, almost too calm. The syllables carried a cadence the galaxy hadn't heard in centuries. Several officers recoiled as if stung. Others froze, their eyes wide. The probability models had been clear. Earth was dust. No survivors. No voice should be speaking from its grave. Play that again, snapped Admiral Ter, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. The technicians obeyed. The words repeated, sharp and clear, the accent unyielding. One junior officer whispered, "It's impossible. Earth burned. We have records." Ter ignored him. His gaze lingered on the waveform dancing across the display, alive with impossible proof. "Route it to the main council," he ordered. Now. The Grand Council chamber was built for spectacle, massive crystalline walls, holographic constellations floating overhead, and enough seating to hold 100 species in one place. That day, none of the usual grandeur mattered. Every delegate's focus was on the hovering projection at the center, the human voice looping in sterile precision. "This is Earth Command. Identify yourself." The chamber rippled with unease. Counselor Vrath, reptilian scales glinting in the light, broke the silence. "This is a trick. Pirates scavenging from ruins, mimicking forbidden languages. No pirate could fabricate this," countered Counselor Haren, her many eyes blinking in rapid succession. "The cadence matches archived samples. The tone, the inflection, it's undeniably human." The word itself seemed to hang heavier than any weapon. Human. For generations, humanity had been a warning, not a people. A story parents told their offspring, creatures that rose too quickly, burned too brightly, and vanished in the flames of their own ambition. To hear their voice now was to watch a ghost speak. Counselor Drea, soft-spoken but sharp, leaned forward. "Suppose it isn't a recording. Suppose Earth never truly fell." Murmurs spread like fire. The thought itself was destabilizing. Every empire had built its power under the assumption humanity was gone. If they were back, if they had endured, everything shifted. Admiral Ter cut through the noise. "The question is not whether they live. The question is why they are calling." In a dim corridor outside the chamber, two lesser aides whispered urgently. "They'll panic," one muttered. "The counselors pretend to be calm, but you saw their eyes. If humans return, the balance collapses." The other swallowed hard. "Then maybe we should hope the signal was a fluke." Neither dared say it aloud, but both thought the same thing. If the humans were alive, they would not return quietly. Back inside, the counselors argued in mounting intensity. "Quarantine this sector," Vrath demanded. "Seal it before this voice spreads." "That would confirm our fear and make us look weak," Drea replied coldly. "Do you wish to tell the galaxy we are afraid of ghosts?" "We should be afraid," another delegate muttered. The human voice cut through their quarrel once again. "This is Earth Command. Identify yourself." Counselor Haren raised a trembling limb. "Perhaps we should answer." The chamber went still. It was such a simple suggestion, yet the weight of it was immense. To answer was to acknowledge, to invite. To ignore was to risk insult, perhaps worse. Admiral Ter stepped forward. "We send a controlled reply. Nothing more. Contain the risk, gather intelligence. If it is a trick, we expose it. If it is real—" He paused, his eyes narrowing. "Then we will know what remains of them." Hours later, the response was transmitted. It was short, deliberate, stripped of any flourish. "This is the Galactic Council. Identify yourself." The technicians sent it across the void, through layers of distortion and interference, and waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Static hissed endlessly. Officers shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps it had been for nothing, some echo bouncing across ruined systems. Then the reply came. "This is Commodore Elias Kane, Earth Command Fleet. You are trespassing in restricted space. State your intent." The name landed like a thunderclap. A fleet. Not survivors hiding in ruins, not echoes of a dead world, but a fleet. Admiral Ter's jaw tightened. Around him, delegates muttered, some horrified, some incredulous. Vrath hissed. "A lie. It must be." Drea shook her head. "No. That was not the voice of desperation. That was the voice of someone holding cards he hasn't shown yet." The counselors exchanged uneasy glances. The humans had not asked who they were. They had not begged for help. They had given a command, polite, but unmistakably firm. In the observation gallery, far from the council's polished decorum, low-ranking officers whispered among themselves. A fleet? How? They had no allies. No resources. Then where did it come from? One officer, older, eyes shadowed by experience, said quietly. "You're all asking the wrong question. The right one is, why are they only speaking now?" Back in the chamber, Admiral Ter leaned forward toward the calm, his voice, measured and steady, carried across the transmission. "This is Admiral Ter of the Galactic Council. Humanity was believed destroyed. You claim otherwise. Prove it." For a long moment, silence filled the channel. Then, faintly, came the sound of something shifting, mechanical, immense, like the slow awakening of buried engines. And then Kane's voice returned, calm as before, yet carrying an undercurrent that made every officer's skin crawl. "Very well. Stand by." The channel cut, leaving nothing but static. The council chamber dissolved into chaos. Some shouted for immediate mobilization, others for retreat. Delegates hurled accusations, desperate to regain footing in a reality that was tilting beneath them. Admiral Ter remained silent, his mind working furiously. Humans had never bluffed idly. If Kane had said, "Stand by," it meant something was coming. Something none of them were prepared to see. Far away, beyond the rim of the Council's map stars, ancient engines stirred awake. Massive hulls shifted in darkness, dormant for centuries, their surfaces scarred but unbroken. Lights flickered along their spines as systems roared to life, shaking off dust like predators stretching after a long slumber. The forgotten fleet was moving. And the galaxy, for the first time in ages, would remember why the word human was spoken in whispers. The war room had gone quiet. No screens flashed, no alarms rang, yet tension pressed against every officer like a physical weight. Admiral Sato's hands rested behind his back, eyes fixed on the single line of text pulsing across the holodisplay. Unknown transmission received, source, extragalactic. The message had no encryption, no prelude. It was a single sentence, delivered in an uncomfortably human cadence. "We have been waiting for you." No one spoke. Even the youngest officers, who normally filled the silence with nervous chatter, seemed paralyzed. Finally, Captain Vale exhaled. "That doesn't sound like a wrong number." Saito didn't smile. "No. That sounds like someone who knows exactly who they're speaking to." The alien delegates, seated along the chamber's edge, shifted uneasily. The scaled Vareth ambassador hissed, his crest stiffening. "Extragalactic? Impossible. Nothing crosses the dark void between galaxies. Not without." He stopped mid-sentence, unwilling to say the word. Vale supplied it. "Not without breaking physics." The hollow map updated, painting a thin red arc that stretched beyond the rim of known space. The transmission point was clear. It came from a void sector no species had dared chart. Saito turned. "Navigation, how long until we could reach that sector with our current drive systems?" The officer swallowed. 72 years, sir. At minimum." A ripple of unease swept the chamber. Whoever had sent the message was not bound by that limitation. Vale leaned forward, voice dry. "So. They dialed us, Admiral. Question is, do we answer back?" The debate. The room fractured into arguments. The Vareth ambassador slammed his claw against the table. Destroy the signal relay at once! Sever the channel before more arrive! Opposite him, the Lithari envoy, a creature of light and crystalline shards, glimmered in agitation. No. To sever contact is to show fear. If they reached across galaxies, they already know our position. Hiding gains nothing. The human officers remained silent. They were listening, watching the aliens argue, but their expressions betrayed calculation rather than panic. Finally, Saito raised a hand. Enough. The single word silenced the chamber. We are not children startled by thunder. The message was deliberate. Cutting the line or panicking will only amuse them. He paused, gaze sliding to Vale. Thoughts? Vale tapped the display with one finger. The wording bothers me. We have been waiting for you. Not for us, humanity, specifically. For you, as if they were speaking to one person. A directed call. The chamber stirred. A trap? Someone whispered. Vale shrugged. Could be. But here's the thing, traps are only effective if you step into them blind. What if, instead, we step in holding the detonator? The plan. Sato's eyes narrowed. You suggest we answer? Vale gave a small, humorless smile. No, Admiral. I suggest we invite them to keep talking. You don't close the door on someone who wants you to open it, you leave it ajar and see what crawls through. The Verith ambassador spat. Madness. Every legend warns of voices from beyond the void. You humans do not understand. Vale's gaze cut to him, sharp as a blade. On the contrary, we understand better than most. Earth once sent messages into the void. Music, greetings, even maps to our planet. We've been ringing the universe's doorbell for centuries. If something finally answered, maybe it's time to find out who picked up. The silence that followed was different now, not fear, but reluctant acknowledgement. The aliens shifted, realizing the human was right. Retreat was not an option. Saito nodded slowly. All right. We keep the line open. But on our terms. First contact. Minutes later, the chamber darkened as the transmission stabilized. Static filled the air, then cleared into a voice, not synthetic, not alien, but eerily familiar. Humanity. We remember your first signals. The songs of your world reached us when your species still walked in shadows. You are late. Vale leaned toward the mic, calm as though discussing weather. And who exactly have we kept waiting? The pause before the answer was deliberate, a silence that carried weight. We are the architects. The word hung heavy. The Lithari envoy flickered violently, shards trembling. The Verith hissed like a broken vent. Clearly, the name meant something to them. Vale's eyes narrowed. Architects, Builders of what? The voice almost smiled. Of chains. Of empires. Of extinction. Yours was promised to us long ago. Every alien in the chamber erupted in noise. The Verith ambassador shouted. This cannot be. They were destroyed millennia ago. The Lithari keened in panic. Vale ignored them. He leaned closer to the mic, his voice dry. Sorry to disappoint, but humanity doesn't honor promises made without our consent. You'll need to renegotiate. The voice did not laugh, but the air carried its amusement. Bold. We will come soon. Be ready. The transmission cut. The aftermath. The lights flickered back on. The chamber was chaos, aliens shouting, officers rushing to secure comms, alarms blaring warnings. Vale straightened his uniform, unruffled. Well? That went well. Saito turned slowly. Explain. Vale's tone was measured, clinical. They wanted fear. They got defiance. That shifts the board. If they expected us to grovel, they now know we won't. That buys us time. And time is everything. The Verith ambassador slammed his claws down again. You have doomed us all. The architects consume. They return only to harvest. Vale tilted his head. Then it's fortunate humans are difficult to digest. The ambassador recoiled, momentarily speechless at the audacity. Sato's gaze hardened. Enough. We can't afford infighting. If these architects are real, then they are a threat to every world represented here. And humanity has experience with threats. We do not scare easily. He looked at Vale. Prepare contingency protocols. I want projections of every possible response, diplomatic, military, psychological. If they return, we won't just wait. We'll be ready. Vale's smile was thin, sharp. Understood, Admiral. I'll prepare something memorable. Closing scene. As the chamber emptied, Vale lingered at the console, studying the static traces of the signal. His fingers drummed lightly on the panel. Saito approached quietly. You're not telling them everything. Vale didn't look up. Would you? The aliens panic easily. But humans. His smile grew faintly. We've been waiting too, Admiral. Waiting for something to test the depths of what we've built in the dark. For a long moment, Saito studied him. Then he turned away, muttering, God help them if they think we're prey. Behind him, Vale whispered to the fading static. Welcome back, architects. Let's see who chains whom.